The funny thing is that, after college, I was an All-American. So that means that I was top 8 in the country in my events. However, I never finished like top 3, or national champion individually. And so I didn't know if I had what it really took to make the Olympic team at that point, I would say mentally. And plus I was hurt. My body was, I had some hamstring things that was happening year over year. And so when it was time for me to graduate, I had to make that decision. It was 2002. I'm aging myself. But the next upcoming Olympic Games was in 2 years. And was that a reality or not? I had to make that choice whether I was going to train or go another path.
Welcome to Limitless Minds, the podcast where curiosity meets greatness. Each week, co-hosts DJ Eitzen and Harry Wilson sit down with some of the most exceptional individuals across sports, business, and beyond. From world-class athletes and peak performance coaches to visionary CEOs, entrepreneurs, and influential authors, they dive deep into the stories and strategies that drive extraordinary success. If you're ready to discover what it takes to be truly limitless and push beyond your own limits, you're in the right place.
Today, we're joined by Limitless Minds coach Mechelle Freeman, a former Olympic sprinter and one of the top track coaches in the country. Mechelle competed in the 2008 Beijing Olympics as part of the Team USA's 4x100 meter relay and is now coaching some of the fastest women in the world. She's also the founder of Track Girls, an organization dedicated to empowering young women through track and field. With her unique perspective as both an athlete and a coach, Mechelle is here to share her insights on mindset, performance, and the power of perseverance, while also sharing some of her experience from the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. Enjoy. Mechelle Freeman, we got you on the Limitless Minds podcast. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you being here.
What's up, Mechelle?
Hey, thanks for having me.
So let's just get right to it. Paris, France. How was it? Welcome back. I'm excited to hear about the journey. Tell us about it. How was it? And what was the experience like?
Well, first, what made it the most memorable was that my family was there. I'm always traveling to these global championships, and you're gone for 3 weeks at a time, 2 weeks at a time. And, I've missed birthdays and games, championship moments. And it was important as I went into this Olympic Games to have my family there. This is the first Olympic Games that I was the head coach. In Tokyo, I was the assistant relays coach. So it was a very meaningful moment for me in my career and my journey. And I definitely wanted my family to be there and be a big part of that.
Yeah, I love it. I saw those pics and your husband, my friend from college and way back, David, was posted on the gram and
D free.
Yeah.
Freezy 30.
That's right. Well, and tell us about the family a little bit. Like, where are you guys at, and can you tell us about the crew and what they're up to?
Yeah, my husband, he's doing well. He's David is just that daily intentional, high performing person naturally. So just living with him every day, I wake up with the expectation of first thing I'm thinking about is what I need to do. Or what am I need to live up to? But that's just the level of the expectation that he's always given me. His work ethic is at a level that is just so high that I just try to keep up every day. And then as soon as my eyes are open, the kids are, forced to wake up for school now. So it's gone from being at the Paris coaching the best women in the world to waking up, getting my kids to school on time, making sure they're eating breakfast, packing lunches. So, things have totally shifted. But I'm totally grateful for them. I mean, again, going into Paris is something they know I've been preparing for. So for them just to be there to experience it all and see what it looks like when mommy goes to work, then that was a big moment.
No doubt. How different was, you mentioned Tokyo. How different was Tokyo versus Paris in terms of your experience?
Well, Tokyo was the COVID Olympics. So we could not go anywhere. We had no fans, no social experience of the Olympic Games, which is such a major component, meeting people and being around the environment of being inspired by the best of the best from all sports, experiences, companies. organizations all coming together in that one moment. So that part was missing in Tokyo. It was just going to the track, going to the hotel, and not taking COVID tests all the time. So
Right.
that was great. But Paris, the social component was back. We were back and having the experience of meeting people. I got to just walk past the ice baths and see Simone Biles, getting her, just getting, her recovery session going on. So, it was just good to have that component back, being around everybody and having the fans there and having your supporters there.
Yeah.
So
Well, we're gonna get into the Paris Olympics a little bit deeper here in a minute, but for the listeners that and viewers that don't necessarily know you and your background yet, tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, how you got into track and field and other sports potentially. Who did you do that with? What some accomplishments and all that stuff. Give us a little bit of that rundown.
Well, I mean, I am from Prince George's County, Maryland. I love saying PG County. Where we come from, we represent the whole county. We don't even say the city, but but I'm born in Washington, D.C. My twin sister and I'm baby girl, 2 minutes younger. But I'm from Oxon Hill, Maryland, Oxon Hill High School Clippers. We love being from
represent.
the DMV. Yeah, represent. We love being from the DMV. But
awesome.
My sister and I, we were always known as the Fast Twins ever since we started doing any neighborhood activities, racing the boys in the streets, PE tests, and they just wanted us to be a part of teams because we were fast. So it started out in basketball. The basketball coach made us play soccer.
Yeah.
Then we were just winning because we were just fast and kicking the balls in, and but just so I've always experienced success on my teams. To be honest with you, I've just not ever been a part of a losing team, so I don't even know what it. I don't know what it. We don't lose. I've never been a part of a losing team. I mean, we brought the first national championship in any sport to the University of South Carolina. So I've been. I mean, and Oxon Hill, setting the tone there with records with my sister and I. And I say that humbly in a way of that I've just been truly blessed. And so that I just give you insight into how I'm bred and the only way that I think and the way that what I was exposed to. So the way I perceive outcomes is always a way. It's always a way to win. And I've always seen that, from my parents, always hustling to make sure we were exposed to do the things that we always wanted to do, whether that was sports or schools. They always found a way. I know how to hustle. I know how to make it happen. And I've seen that since I was young. And I've been able to apply that. My sister and I, like I said, went to the University of South Carolina on full scholarships for track.
Who was faster?
Oh, man. Okay, Keisha. Well, first of all, we didn't start running track until high school because once they saw us doing the other sports, they were like, you have to do track. So once we got to high school, I'm just the pure explosive sprinter. I'm a 100-meter sprinter all the way. 200 is long for me. My sister, on the other hand, was a 400-meter runner. She was a 400-meter state champ, record holder. And she always likes to take the credit of saying we got recruited to South Carolina because of her. I'll give her that. I mean, I was good. I was all metro and doing the things, state record holder and things like that. But Keisha was national champion in the 400 meters.
That's so great.
At that 14.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, we again always a part of winning teams. Summer track winning. So it's just that at the University of South Carolina, that was when I was first exposed just to everybody being great. It's not just the outliers of your sister and yourself being the best on the team, but now I'm surrounded with greatness. I'm surrounded with all national champions, people who win, people who work hard. And that was South Carolina. That was the essence of who we were. We worked hard. We showed up. And it showed in the results. And I was inspired by the people who I was surrounded around. And again, my coaches, I've always been around amazing leaders to challenge me and raise my thresholds of performance. So yeah, I've just been blessed, through the years of just knowing how to get the job done.
Yeah.
Were you guys a package deal? South Carolina. Like, was it like you're going to the same place regardless, or was it?
No, we weren't separating at that point. Like, yeah, we weren't separating at that point. We were known as the Lewis twins. And funny story is that, my sister's last name now is Freeman. So now we're the Freeman twins. We both married Freemans.
What?
Wow.
But no, we
That's
were
really cool.
Yeah, we were the Lewis twins package. And I'm again blessed that we were able to go to school together, both of us full scholarships. Now as a parent, I can only imagine my mom, my dad, being so happy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. No.
Yeah.
Did you well, first off, I gotta give a shout out to Ohio, because we have in Twinsburg, we have the biggest Twins festival in the United States every year. Twinsburg is right outside of Cleveland. Should come. You and your sister should come sometime.
Let me know the date.
I'll let you know the next date. Yeah, but we'd love to have some Olympians.
You always drop it from
Hey,
Ohio.
Listen, man, you got to represent where you're from now.
Ohio got to have something. I don't know what else is there.
Come on.
That's where they do the dogs and the cats.
That's true. That's true.
That's where they do the dogs and the cats in Ohio, Springfield.
Too soon, Harry Wilson. But when you got on campus in South Carolina, did you mentioned, obviously everybody was very talented. Is there anything that you saw in terms of preparation that started to separate folks there? And if so, is there any story that you could share with us?
Oh, it's just always been about consistency. When you go to that level, you have, a whole schedule. Your whole day is around that one purpose. So that's when you're really, really, really instilling that level of focus, that we talk about, that superpower of intentionality. It's built around you being successful in that one area. So as soon as you wake up, your schedule for school is set a certain way. So you could be at practice at the times you need to be at practice. Your academic studies, tutoring, all those things you have to do. The weight room, 5 days a week, 4 days a week, depending on where you are in your training. But it was just that level of commitment, that, that consistency that really changed there. And then that's, like I said, I just saw people who worked hard. Like, we were in the best shape of our lives. Like, I'm never going to be in that shape ever, ever, ever again. I say when I was an elite athlete, I was the most technical. It was science then. It was, me understanding physics and applying those things. But in college, I was just in shape. Like, and so I just got to see people show up and do workouts in ways that I don't know how they finished. And so I'm just always impressed by that, looking at just remembering some of our workouts and just seeing people get back to the line. And so that's the inspiring part of seeing people get back to the line, because I know how they were feeling. Right. And like, to see them get back to the line, I could just remember, multiple times of that memory.
That's really cool.
And you competed in the Olympics as well, right?
Oh, well, that part, yes.
Yeah, you competed. So 2008 Beijing, am I right?
That is correct.
Okay.
The funny thing is that, after college, I was an All-American. So that means that I was top 8 in the country in my events. However, I never finished like top 3, or national champion individually. And so I didn't know if I had what it really took to make the Olympic team at that point. I would say mentally, and plus I was hurt. My body was. I had some hamstring things that was happening year over year, and so when it was time for me to graduate, I had to make that decision. It was 2002. I'm aging myself. But the next upcoming Olympic Games was in 2 years, and was that a reality or not? I had to make that choice whether I was going to train or go another path.
Yeah.
Right.
But my mom always knows that, she made us, we were good in sports in the field and in court and things like that on the track, but she didn't play about academics as well. So I'm smart. I know how to study. I'm straight A's and honors. And so when path A didn't work with Olympics at that time, I was like, well, let me just go to grad school. Yeah, I go to grad school.
That's right.
All of my teammates were still running and my friends were still in school. I was the only one actually who finished in 4 years. Everybody was still, you know, I mean, including Keisha, but because she finished later on that year. But anyways, I was just not ready to leave South Carolina.
Yeah.
And actually, South Carolina has one of the top journalism programs. And I decided to stay and continue studying that path and focused on advertising. Ended up having to do an internship in New York City at Y&R, New York. So I worked Madison Avenue for 2 years, you know, managing global marketing, advertising accounts, living that Mad Men ad age life.
Yeah.
Like it was real at that time. But that, you know, when I started thinking about running again, that was 4 years off, 2 years grad school, 2 years working in corporate America. But I really started to think about running again.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean,
It's really cool.
It took a lot of faith at that point. You know, I was older. I went through some things personally that changed who I was as a person, how to really set standards for my daily, just how I make my decisions, what I hold myself up to as far as my values on, you know, how I want to operate, and started living in that and holding myself accountable to those things. And was like, if you want to be an Olympic athlete, then you say you're faithful, you say you live up to excellence, you say you love adventure, then quitting your job to make this Olympic team in 2 years is something that could challenge all of those things. And it really happened.
That's incredible. That's really cool. Yeah, did you spend any time as an athlete at the Olympic training facility in Colorado Springs then?
Well, track and field typically does not, but actually when I retired, I had a back injury. So once I had surgery, I did it through the Olympic committees, one of their programs, and I did my recovery there in Colorado Springs for a month. So I was actually up there for a month just recovering, but it was when I was retiring in 2010.
That you went was there anything that in at that facility or even in the Olympic training that you do or have done as an athlete that you say separates us as a country or you as an athlete in terms of your conditioning and training there?
Well, I mean, I just think for US, you have some of the best coaches, you have the best facilities, the best resources. So just being at the training facility, I mean, you have the underwater treadmill, you know, so just making sure you're not putting too much pressure. So it's just about having the resources. You know, and the coaches who have that knowledge and that study and that wisdom and that access. You know, our collegiate system for track and field it's a feeder system to the Olympic Games. You're fielding your best athletes a high percentage from the collegiate system. So just being in the US and the structure of our sport, is no other country that has the benefit of our infrastructure of fielding the talent in our sport and the resources for equipment and the staff support that you have to train, recover, and be your best.
Yeah, you know, let's talk about USA Track a little bit and your role there. So let's get a little more specific. Like, so your role as you lead the US women sprinters, right? Like, what events are you responsible for relative to leading those individuals specifically? And I'm really curious also, like, how did you find your way to getting that job, getting that role? Like, what was that story arc like?
Yeah, so you know, since I've been running, the relays have always been a special spot for me. I love the relays. I love everyone coming together. You're walking on the battlefield together. You look to your left, you look to your right, and you could be proud of, you know, who you're walking next to because you know they're going to get the job done. That's what you want to feel like, you know, and that somebody has a piece of this puzzle that you don't bring, and you're excited because you get to be a part of it. And see what they do. And so I've been on winning relays since high school. You know, we got third at national championships in high school, college, SEC championships, NCAA champions. So the relays have a special part of me. The University of South Carolina is known as a relay program. And so when you think about the relays, you have the short relays, the 4x100 meters. Everyone's running the 100. That's more of the technical race. where you got to get the baton pass. So it's not just about speed there. It's all about skill. Sometimes people get tricky with it and think you got to put the 4 fastest out there, but it's a whole skill component that needs to be really thought of as a priority. And then you have the 4x4. The 4x4 is that one lap. Everyone is still a sprint event, but just a little longer. But it gives you a little bit more time, for leads to change and for just for different moments of excitement and worry and things like that. And now they have a new relay called the mixed 4x4. So 2 women, 2 men, both running the 4x4. So I once I retired, I ran the 4x100 meters in the Olympic Games in 2008. We were gold medal favorites. Unfortunately, we came out disqualified with our anchor leg. Our last pass, our anchor leg wasn't able to get the baton. And so it's always tricky in the U.S. Because you don't have a time of working exact pairs. You don't know who makes teams till you have the Olympic trials or USA championships. And that's only 4 to 6 weeks before a global championship. And now you got to think about everyone is still practicing. You have people who are running open events, the 100 meters, the 200 meters, the 400 meters. So now you're dealing with schedules. And how are you going to get all 4 to 6 people together at one time to practice the exact pairs? Once I retired, I got a call about retired in 2010. So about 2015, I got a call to see if I was interested. They were starting to focus as a federation to have relay coaches to focus on the relay. So you can have consistency team over team, year over year, working with these athletes because you got to bring consistency somewhere. You don't know who's making the team year over year. So at least having a designated relay coach instead of having national team coaches who may be over the sprints and the hurdles to handle the relays. Now you have a consistent relay coach every single year. So they started to go to that approach and ask me if I was interested in applying. And I applied and I was chosen. I
won again, Harry.
I just listen.
I mean, listen. Like the kids say, if you know, you know. I mean, that's just what it is. So
again, I'm grateful. I
love it. I love it. And when I was watching the Olympics, obviously, all these athletes are unbelievable and they're extremely talented. I mean, just like you saw at South Carolina, then you go to the Olympics. From a mental standpoint, how big of a factor is that in competing at that level? And unpack that. Tell us a little bit about that.
I mean, that's so many levels to that. Two things. You have just the pressure of the moment. You've been preparing for this one day. For me, the preparation, I know for the upcoming Olympic Games, what dates the relays are on, the prelims, the finals, all of that. You're thinking about that exact date, from the year before. So the pressure of the moment, the pressure of getting it right, the pressure of winning gold medals, the pressure of being the best at that time on that day. And then I would say for the relay program in specific, you have the pressure with the US, you have depth. And so, you're coming in with a choice, you have to go through, you're coming in with options, of saying which direction is the best. So you have the pressure as the coach to, I pray over my discernment all the time, every single day, because that's the gift. The problem solving is the gift. And so you have to, it's a delicate gift that you have to take that responsibility very seriously and take care of that. And then from the athletes, you have the pressure of being the one selected. You just want to run. And so you're dealing with all of these pressures, but at the end of the day, you have to get everyone on the same page that the outcome is what's best for the team. And that's what's tough because track and field is an individual sport. You're used to standing on the line for yourself and handling that moment for yourself. But now you got to change that and say, am I best for the team in this moment? And sometimes it's hard for you to say no.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned pressure, and I was gonna, because one of the questions I had for you was like, how is the landscape of this in this arena, if you will, how has it changed since since from 2002 to 2008 to 2010 when you retired to now? And one of the things that I was hypothesizing that has changed is social media, right?
Yeah.
And leading up to the Olympics, I feel like I knew more about these track athletes, particularly the women in track, than I
Oh,
ever have before, right? And this particular group, I mean, star-studded, swagger,
oh my
right?
God.
And characters, right? From Gabby Thomas to Sydney to all these individuals that like have like that are marketable, that are leveraging social media. And so now everybody knows who you are. And on the men's side, Noah Lyles, like everybody knows who you are and the
Hmm.
expectations that you carry. So like how has the landscape changed, and how has social media impacted that, you think?
Well, you see how Harry just answered the question?
My bad.
Like, I mean,
My bad.
that, cause that was the answer. But
Okay.
it was good. It was good.
Yeah, I like Michelle. Hey,
I, but if you want me to add to it,
Yeah,
I
please do.
will
Please do.
say, yes,
Please do.
that from the time that I was in 2008, you're so right. Like the social media landscape has changed the game. The everybody's watching. Everybody
mm,
has an opinion. And you have that natural curiosity to want to know what that opinion is. And you have to take that all in. You got to be able to handle that. I love what you said also about, the names of the athletes, especially for the women. That's the biggest difference. The women are carrying the biggest,
yeah,
moments in the sport. Yes, of course, you still have Lyles moments, but I mean, let's talk about the Sydney McLaughlin moments on the world
Yeah.
records. Let's talk about the Sha'Carri Richardson and the personality and performances that she brings. Those viral moments of looking to the right and staring down her opponents while she's walking them down the track. Just a little slight.
Love that. Love it.
Oh
we
man,
we
I
would
mean,
we would die. We would die as a family. Like we have 5 children, Michelle, and we were all watching that moment at the same time. I'm like, did she just look over at?
she did, and I was in the warm up area, like.
Oh man,
Okay, we won. Thank you.
it's
But
so good.
Sha'Carri, what I love about Sha'Carri is authentically Sha'Carri.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But she backs it up, and you got to respect that.
Yeah.
But then of course you have, someone like Gabby Thomas. Gabby Thomas is a gamer. She knows how to show up at the times that it's time for you to show up. But yeah, the women, are carrying the sport in a new way, in a strong way. I mean,
Yeah.
sports in general. So just the investment in women's sports at this time is different,
Yeah.
and you can feel that, the stardom of the athletes and the respect and more interest in track and field in the Olympic Games. That was a
Yes.
big difference. So yeah, just being able to handle all that. Now you got to perform. Now everyone's watching. You got everyone's attention. Now you got to win.
Pressure.
Yeah.
You brought that word up, pressure. Is there something as a coach that you do or teach to help your athletes manage and deal with pressure?
Oh, it's just making sure one is two from a technical side is just making sure you're preparing them for just knowing how to handle the race, the fundamentals, sticking to the basics. Again, it's bringing everybody to the same thought process, making sure we're operating from the same way of thought, the same way of execution. So you're making sure they're prepared, the preparation, just on the technical aspect of the environment, so that when they walk out there, mentally, it's not the first time. We've talked about this. We put ourselves in this situation, what's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then, and when you have those hard moments, it's going to be some emotional and mental challenges along the way that's going to be unique to each relay. I have, different experience as I go from the mixed relay to the women's 4x1 to the women's 4x4.
Right.
So just, that's a more individualized moment.
Yeah.
Private conversations. If someone's, about a young athlete, it's her first Olympic Games, and she looks around and sees that she's about to run against some of the fastest women in the world. You
Right.
talk them through those moments. And so, yeah, you got to just use your experience and things you put in your mind every day, quotes, scripture, what you heard, whatever it is, you should be coming in filled to be able to handle those moments.
I really love that. Like you said, we talk about pressure, but you say preparation.
Yeah.
Those two I think go hand in hand in terms of, and I hear this from elite performers and athletes to say they prepare. Not that there's always going to be that pressure, but it helps mitigate it a little bit and helps it subside so that they can show up the best version of themselves on that day, at that time. So that's really helpful. Really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, preparation is the separation, and it's that.
Preach.
Yeah, no, I
Preach, girl.
you just, I mean, you have to be ready. It's no other option, and so that, like I said, that's it. Like, this is it, and you're either ready or you're not, and it's the moment is here, and that's the thing. You have to be ready because you have to come out in a way that you say. If you want to come out the way that you say, then this is the only option.
Yeah. And we talk about preparation and preparing for the moment. I'm also wondering, how do you bounce back, right? So, especially if you're running multiple events in a certain scenario, but like you said, you mentioned you're training, for 4 years and more for one day. And if you run the 100 for 10 seconds, right? A 10-second moment. How do you, and if it doesn't go the way that you expected, and that you wanted, and then you have the gravity of that moment, how do you bounce back? How do you teach people to bounce back from that?
Well, this is the thing. You got is dependent on what's the bounce back. Like, is the bounce back now? Like, because I need you to bounce back and be ready for a race, or is the bounce back not now and you're not ready, and we have to bounce back at a different time, because you have to deal with time and space. And so that changes, if we're dealing with a situation where athletes coming to me and they just got, let's say they were in the lead and then they lost the lead at 10 meters before the race, and we need them to run again, then you have to get that athlete prepared if that's the only option, if that's the option that you choose to go. So I think you just have to look at the moment, look at the time and space you have, and see if there's time for the bounce back to happen. If it is, then you have to use everything in your toolbox. Like I said, going to the consistency of your actions every single day, and it should be top of mind. It should be ready. It should be there, so that you're not mentally just reaching and trying to pull yourself up. And instead of it, you're just ready and prepared, and have that moment, and that, I want to say, and have that, whatever that motivation is, that reminder of that uncompromising purpose of why you're here. It needs to be top of mind at all times.
What's interesting, I didn't know this about your story when you talk about how you're this elite athlete, you're at South Carolina, you leave, you go to New York, which is crazy, right? You start a job and you're working, and then you say, you know what, I want to jump back into this and go back and compete at an Olympic level, which is insane, right? Like, I think that's, are there things that, as you go through that journey and you see what sports taught you, you were able to go and apply it in the business world, go back to sports? Is there anything that you're sharing with your athletes in terms of what this all means in a bigger picture?
Oh, I mean, you have to be prepared how to pivot. Who you are as an athlete is consistent in showing, like, expressing your values, expressing your standards, expressing, who you are as a human being. But that's just one, it's an expression, it's an output, it's a vessel. But you have to be able to demonstrate that in different ways. It's a piece of your brand, your story. But you have to be able to express that in all different facets of life, and all the different roles that you are going to be in life. So whether you're in corporate America or the athlete, it's the same mentality. It's the same way of thinking. It's the same approach. And that's the thing. Of course, I want to be the best. I want to be around the best. I want to always experience that in my life.
Yeah. No, I hear it. I hear it in your stories. You mentioned words like discernment, and I mean, it's you can tell that it's bigger than just athletics. And I think that I have to imagine if I'm one of your athletes that resonates with me. I want to push harder. I want to, I want to really excel, not only for myself, but for my coach too, as well. So it's good.
And you gotta be, excuse me, you have to be careful with that, because it's athletes who it can motivate, but then it's also you have a high, when you're dealing in a high performance setting and you always have a standard of that, you have to make sure you keep eye on the athletes who feel pressure from living up to. And so, yes, you want to be a motivation at all times, but sometimes, and somebody can look at you and look at you as something that's unattainable. And so you have to, you have to make sure that as a leader, in times that you just unintentionally give that to someone, that you just have to figure out, how you two can work to get back on the same page.
Yep.
I like that. What do you love about coaching?
Ooh, just the problem solving of it all, just figuring it out. It's always seeing, watching, observing, fixing, adjusting, persevering. I just love seeing the work put in and then it actually working. So that, like, just the input equal output formula, is I love living up to the doubt of people not seeing a way and you figuring out the way, just like a maze. It's like a maze, and I'm always work. I mean, I'm not going to be outworked. I'm always steady. I'm gonna figure it out. Like I said, I'm gonna always figure it out. Like I'm gonna figure it. It's always a way. It's always a way. And so that's the mentality until the moment's over. I'm not going to change that mindset ever.
I love that. I mean, and I feel like, observing, the work that you're doing, with these individuals, these elite athletes, and getting the pleasure of watching this. I also feel like you're leaving a legacy. I feel like you're leaving a legacy, kind of brick by brick. And one of the legacies that you're leaving, and I want people to know about, is the work that you're doing with Track Girls. You're the founder of this organization called Track Girls. Tell us about that. Why did you start that? And what's the vision for that and where you want that to go?
Yeah, Track Girls was started in 2015 when I went back to marketing after the Olympic Games. That's when I was in the 2008 Olympic Games. I retired, in 2010. I worked for another 4 years before going back into track and field as a coach. So during that time, I was watching the sport from the brand side and just realizing that women in track and field really weren't being appreciated and recognized for their contribution to sport, history, culture. And like you said, the stardom that you see now, we had those same stars, back then. It's just that it wasn't received the same way. And I wanted to change that. I wanted to provide a consistent platform. I saw how the sport changed my life, socially, physically, mentally, and wanted to provide that same access point for middle and high school girls in particular, because that's at that age that you really start to take that ownership for your future, your choices, and your commitments. So I started Track Girls first by offering workshops. By being an Olympic athlete, of course, I have a network that I want to just give those same access points of world-class athletes and coaches to the girls that, I come in touch with now. So the workshops do that. It gives them high performance development tools, just so they can understand how to prepare and be ready, the physical aspects of track and field, how to run, jump, throw, foundational movements, just to help them just in any sport and functional movement in life. And then we have our grant program, just making sure that they have any resources for local access to the sport, give support in schools, individuals. So I love track girls. I've been called a track girl since I was 13. The track girls, they have an essence. You think when I first thought about the track girls, it was from a sprinter mindset. But of course, like I said, it's every girl's a track girl, no matter if you run, jump, or throw. But it's a swag about you. You walk in a room. You look confident. You have your own, whatever that is that you like to represent. I have blue hair right now, so you feel good about representing yourself. Of course, you got the nails. So it's like that
so
FloJo era. Yeah, But anyways, it's just giving impact.
DJ, was funny. Like when I was, obviously watching the track events, I'm thinking to myself. I think I said this out loud to my wife. I was like, Are these the most like beautiful women in the world?
Yeah.
I heard that. I heard that too about the women, like the relays. They were like, "Look, y'all were winning," but we were like, "Man, those girls are beautiful."
Yeah.
But and it's beauty. I mean, obviously, they look great, but I mean, I'm talking just like
they carry themselves the whole nine.
The word essence, like from top to bottom, from the brains, the athleticism, the winning, like all of that. It was just like
essence. You took me back. Essence. You took me back to the barbershop though. I'm thinking I'm reading the Essence magazine at the barbershop. Back.
That's the essence. That's it. Yeah. You look good. You feel good. You run good. You are good. It's
no
just
question.
Everything about you, full package. Just smart. Got it done.
Mechelle, my sister was she ran track growing up, so I grew up like on a track and field, playing underneath the stands usually. Actually, she ran with you may know Tanja Buford.
Gabby's coach.
Okay, yeah. So Tanja and my sister Dawn were on the same ran in the same track club, the Dayton Track Club.
Wow.
Yeah. So I came up, watching. Elite track runner. She ran the 800, but she go down to the 400 all the way up to the mile. And
wow, back then I didn't know
she could do it. Yeah, she did it all. She like wherever they needed points at the time. that's where they ran Dawn. But I remember as a kid, looking up to these, because she's 7 years older, and just looking up and saying, I mean, just beautiful, women doing elite athletics and then going on to do great things. I mean, I look at the girls and now women that were in that track club, and all of them are doing great, so it's it kind of like when I watch the Olympics, I get a little nostalgic because that's how I grew up. Just watching the competition.
You watching the track girls.
That's it. Right. That's it. Trying to flirt with the track girls, but they ain't had nothing to do with me, man. I was way too young.
That's the track girl.
That's it.
So as we kind of set to close, and you've come out of this this wave of just being a part of some of the greatest performances in the world. Like what's on your mind right now that you want to share with people as far as like something actionable that's kind of you've been leveraging yourself, that you've been sharing with folks you've been coaching. Like what's kind of on your mind right now as we kind of go to from 2024 to 2025 and beyond, that people should be thinking about, that they can solve for? You mentioned being a problem solver. Like what is that big thing?
The biggest thing is knowing your environment, knowing what needs to get done. I mean, because either it gets done or it doesn't. Knowing the expectations. I am a performance-based decision-making person in my role, and none of my decisions are going to go against that. So you need to understand your environment, understand the expectations, and you have to understand that in a high-performing environment, you must live up to that. And that's the standard that I hold for myself. My job as the head women's relays coach for USA Track and Field is to put the best 4 women on the track and from year over year. And so now that the Paris Olympic Games are over, it's now looking on to what's next. What dates do we need to be ready? What are the women doing leading up to Tokyo 2025? And then being ready for that moment, and year over year, things change, landscape change, faces change, but what doesn't change is how you operate. And so I just tell everybody to be consistent in who you are. If you know your weaknesses, show up prepared to face your weaknesses and conquer your weaknesses. If you know your strengths, continue to feed your strengths so that those can be strong and overcome when you're weak. So just knowing who you are, knowing what you need, and then every single day you have to feed those things. You're either moving forward or you're going backwards. So you have to do the things that's moving you forward, and knowing that you're feeding those actions every single day. Is no dormant moment. It's no neutral decision. Being committed to every single detail every day matters.
She said, "Hey, listen, you're either going forward or backwards. Nobody's staying the same, right? Nobody's staying the same." I love that.
Forward or backwards.
Listen, I'm going to ask you to be a little bit of a prognosticator, a little bit. So we're looking to LA Olympics, a handful of years from now, and we know some of the kind of those star-studded names. Give me a name of somebody in track and field, women or men, but I'd love to know who we should be looking for from a female perspective. That's going to be like the next, like the emerging athlete that that we don't know yet.
Ooh.
Take your time. There's no rush.
That is so tough, because unless you have somebody like a Sydney McLaughlin or who started at 16 at her first Olympic Games and has consistently lived up to that level, then you have like a Quincy Wilson who was 16 and ran on our 4x4 on the men's side, who can chart that same path. Or you may have rookies who are again, our collegiate system. You have those NCAA champions that turn into our Olympic champions. And so you don't know who may pop up, that year. I mean, Masai Russell won the 100-meter hurdle gold medal as a rookie, as a pro. Coming out of collegiate system last year. So it just depends. I don't know, because you don't know who will pop up, but I'm always interested in seeing, our younger teams. We have an under 20 team, that's our high school level teams. So it's always watching that team and seeing who can come up the way. But I'm looking forward to seeing who it will be. I'm looking forward to just seeing what happens.
Mechelle, there's a really good pickleball player people are talking about right now that's going to play in the 2024. Is Harrison B. Wilson? I don't know if you heard. Like they're talking about him. They're talking about a lot of rumors, but I'm gonna put it out there. You guys got it time stamped on the podcast. That may happen.
Harry B.
That'll be me, and so I'll be out there. So I'm sure I'll see you out in the Olympic Village out there.
Be Harry, Mechelle, and Snoop. You know what I mean? All hanging out.
Wait, Snoop actually was training at our track practices, y'all.
Training for what? What event was he training for?
Snoop was doing warm-ups, drills, 100 meters. Yeah, I mean, he was great. But no, Harry, it'd be me, you, and Snoop.
That's right. Snoop was everywhere, man. Snoop was everywhere. He was amazing.
He was. Martha Stewart, every time I turn the TV on.
Yeah, well, once you get on site and then you start like having an understanding of what's happening, and now you really authentically want to cheer and see them win, and that's what happened. He got pulled in, and you just saw him showing up everywhere.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, one last little interesting question. So, if put track aside, right? What's your favorite event either to attend or that you wish that you competed in? If you had to pick one outside of track and field.
Outside of track and field, let's see. If I had to do an event outside of track and field, maybe it would be like race car, like NASCAR.
Okay. All right.
She just wants to go fast. She just wants to go fast.
Listen, I was praying it was gonna be hoops. I was praying it was gonna be hoops. We could sit courtside, watch a Fever game or something. I don't know.
See, I just came back from a Dallas Wings game, but fun fact is that I did meet Don Staley
Nice.
Yeah, on site, and she gave me some great advice, as a coach, a legendary coach, an athlete herself. And she's Gamecock. So
Yeah, that's right.
yeah. So we had that tie, but on site, I got to hear some things, some wisdom from her, and definitely received that. So yeah, basketball.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she's amazing. It would be fun, but I'm just thinking about something like just out there.
Something different.
Yeah,
I feel you.
different.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Well, listen, where can everybody find you across socials and so on and so forth, and maybe just tell us anything that's coming up next that we should know about?
Yes. So my handle is long. It's ridiculous, but it's my whole full name. So it's Mechelle. Okay, M-E. Okay, I get my name spelled 99.9% of my whole life. But it's Mechelle Lewis Freeman. It's Coach Freezy. I still tweet, or if you want to say X. But Track Girls with a Z, because I had to put a little twang on there. So you can follow me there. But just coming up, it's a Sprint 2, the Netflix documentary. I may have, I was getting filmed, so we'll see if I make the cut on any of the scenes. We'll know more. It comes out in November. So looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Yeah, they got to follow the relays, leading up to us winning. So that was great.
So good.
I just want to continue to, set the tone, in the role that I'm in. I'm the first woman to lead the relay program in the way that I am. So I'm truly grateful for that. We broke the American record. It was 36 years old, 10th of a second off the world record in the 4x4. So that hurt. So I'm still preparing on going after records. See, we got to break the world record in the 4x1 and the 4x4. So
look at you.
Listen, I got some more work to do. So you can find me studying on how to do that.
Harry, let's put it out there, man. Harry, let's be there at the Olympics in 4 years. Let's do it. Let's do it. We can do some live podcasts. We need to be there.
LA, you gotta go.
You gotta go to LA. Well, it's funny because when my sister was running track, she did go to that. She attended that Olympics. They had some kind of track meet for her as a youth, but she attended the Olympics that year, and I mean, it was amazing for her.
Yeah, you got to
see that. Yeah. So you have to see that.
Got to see that. And then our last thing I'll just say is, I want to do more speaking. So I got a couple of speaking engagements coming up. So just putting myself out there, my platform out there, just how to build championship teams, how to build that momentum of being a high performer. Just in coaching more, just individual private coaching, doing some clinics for the youth. My kids want to be faster. They always, my mommy show me this. So I got to pour into my children. So watching, just being a mom for a bit, being a wife, David, he needs his attention too. So I got, be wifey. But no, just working on it.
I have a feeling we're going to see, Harley and Dane and on some big stages over the next, handful of years.
That's
and beyond.
So great.
So we're looking for them as well. And so this is great, Mechelle. I really appreciate you joining us. More to come with Mechelle. And don't forget, when you come to speaking and coaching, don't forget, Mechelle is a Limitless Minds.
Limitless Minds. Well. Put it out there. Let it be heard.
Yeah,
you'll see her in and around our platform as well. But we're looking forward to more work, watching what you're doing, how you're inspiring and motivating people, and developing some of the best and brightest athletes in the world. So for those that are listening, we'll see you in the next episode. And remember, you don't have to be sick to get better.